sur le podcast d'Anglais in France, des séjours linguistiques. Anglais en France et FLE en France.
Bonjour pour cet nouvel épisode de podcast avec Anglais in France. Cet épisode va être en anglais comme Nadia, Anna et Wendy. Donc, on va commencer. Now, let's start with our new guest for today's episode, which is called Vicky. Vicky, can you briefly introduce yourself for our listener, please?
Hello, I'm Vicky. I'm one of the English teachers here for Anglais in France. I've been working with Jennifer for the last 10 years. Originally, I was a primary school teacher in London, Australia and Hong Kong. And since moving to France, I retrained to become an English teacher. I teach ages between 3 and 99.
So you are a teacher, as you said, and can you briefly explain also when did you start this job? And yeah, you mentioned different countries as well, so can you briefly explain also this for our listener?
Okay, so I started teaching English in France in 2012. It's a new job for me, so I had to retrain. I passed my TEFL qualification and actually retrain in terms of how you teach. But before that, I taught in London, in a primary school in London for 4 years. Then I went backpacking, travelling around the world. I ended up in Australia for 1 year where I taught English and also maths to primary school children. And then I lived in Hong Kong for 9 years where I taught in one of the international schools in primary schools. So I was teaching ages 6 to 10, all subjects, English, maths, science, history. And since living in France, I've taught lycée, college, primary school, and also for Jennifer in Anglais in France.
Where your passion for teaching is born then?
I think my passion for teaching has always been there because I like telling people what to do. I like it when you finally see somebody, the light switches on, and they really, really get what you're explaining. It's always been my passion. I think it's definitely my vocation. And now I'm teaching English, but really for me, teaching is my passion. And I think without teachers, you don't have a world that functions well.
So now you are teaching here for language immersion at Anglais in France. How did you meet this company? How all started?
Okay, so I originally met Jennifer because we used to have we used to be a host family. So in the first instance, we used to have students aged between 13 to 18. They came and stayed with us for a whole week's immersion in English. Myself, my husband, my two children, and my dog. And during the week, they have English lessons. Their children had English lessons with me. Plus, we also did lots of family activities, swimming in the river, hiking in the mountains or on the cliffs, and lots of general family activities, playing board games, watching videos in English, and so on. So that was my first part. And then slowly, because Jennifer developed the company, then she needed more teachers to teach adults. So I became involved in that part of the company too.
Interesting. And always about teaching here at Anglais in France. Obviously now you live in France, which is not your home country. And how did you find that you learned French and the fact that you basically learn a new language? Do you think you can maybe better understand also the problem they have people from France to learn a new language, which is English?
That's a very good question, Nixon. When I arrived in France, I could speak just 3 or 4 words, yes and no, where is the post office? My experience of learning French was very much listen and repeat, listen to my friends, repeat what they were saying. Even if I didn't understand what they were saying, I knew the context was what was correct to use that phrase. I think for the students that we teach here, it's very much about putting the language into context for them so they understand how they can use it, how it can help them either in their job or in their daily life. So, I think the week that they have in Anglais in France is a really good experience because it's non-stop English. It's really like living in a foreign country because they only hear English all week. So they have no chance to go back to speak in French. So it's a good experience for them.
And always about teaching and in this case English. You teach also, you speak about adults, but in your past you teach also some less young student, I would say. And how did you find it? And did you find some difference? Also because maybe for they say in French, l'apprentissage, do you think it's different from less young student to more young student than less young student in this case?
What ages are you talking about exactly?
About adults and student. Do
you mean teenagers or younger than teenagers?
Young teenager, student, and in comparison to adult.
Honestly, I don't think there's much difference because I think that in France what you find is that a lot of people, they are afraid to make mistakes when they speak English. So the idea is that you make them relax, you can play some language games.
Because a lot of adults who always speak so far, they told me in an adult age, like the apprentissage, maybe the learning is more difficult than when you are young. Do you feel?
Yes, I think when you're very young, because it's easy because you're not concerned about making mistakes. But as you get older, you're more concerned with making mistakes, and probably when you're younger, you have more opportunity to speak another language. And as you get older, unless you have to speak English for your job, then you use the language less and less. So it's more difficult to remember what you need to do. Yes.
In conclusion, Vicky, do you have any advice maybe for adults in this case who like maybe to learn or improve a new language, maybe for job wise or also like for personal skill?
I think everybody, if you want to learn another language, watch TV in that language, even with subtitles on. Listen to podcasts. BBC Sounds is a really good link. You can get it on your phone. They have really good documentaries, drama programs. Make friends with native speakers, and you can make an exchange. You can practice your English while the English speaker practices their French. And I think that the more it doesn't matter if you make mistakes, just keep on speaking. It's, when young children are learning to speak a language, they're not told off for making mistakes. They just correct it little by little, and they learn a new language. So it's the same thing for everybody.
Thank you very much, Vicky, for sharing your experience, and good luck with your future plan then, in this case.
Thank you very much. Lovely to talk to you, Nixon.
Merci d'avoir écouté cet épisode de podcast jusqu'au bout. Si vous souhaitez nous poser des questions sur le sujet ou simplement suivre les actualités d'Anglais in France, je vous invite à nous rejoindre sur le site AIF, sur Instagram ou sur LinkedIn par exemple. Plaisir de vous retrouver sur notre chaîne.